We just learned directly from Donald Trump on Truth Social that Kristi Noem is out as the head of the Homeland Security. Here's what he wrote on Truth Social. I'm pleased to announce that the highly respected United States Senator from the great state of Oklahoma, Markwayne Mullin, will become the U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security effective March 31st, 2026. The current Secretary, Kristi Noem, who has served us well and has numerous and spectacular results, especially on the border, will be moving to be special envoy for the Shield of the Americas, our new security initiative in the Western Hemisphere we are announcing on Saturday in Doral, Florida. I thank Kristi for her service at Homeland. Of course, this follows a couple of days of grilling before members of Congress, where she was questioned about numerous things. Number one, the activities of ICE. She never apologized for the death of 2 American citizens at the hands of ICE agents. And a lot was made of the fact that there were a series of TV ads made featuring her that cost a total of $220 million, which Democrats and Republicans said were aimed at raising her own profile. Well, now she is out. She is no longer the director. Akayla Gardner is at the White House for us. And Akayla, there had been a lot of push to get rid of Kristi Noem. A lot of folks who in those hearings called for her resignation or for her to be fired. What do we know about how this all came down?
Hey, guys, yeah.
So it seems like the final straw was today when Secretary Noem was speaking to lawmakers, and she essentially said that President Trump had approved more than $200 million in ads that prominently featured her for the department. And you heard Senator Kennedy essentially saying that, according to President Trump, that was a not accurate depiction of what happened. And this is the first major firing that we've seen of President Trump's second term. He has very much staffed his cabinet with loyalists, but this also comes after we saw the deaths of Alex Preddy and Renee Good in Minnesota, where the president sent his border czar Tom Homan, and we saw Noem and one of her deputies, Greg Bovino, be sidelined there. And now she continues to face these very harsh questions from Capitol Hill. But again, President Trump making this decision, and he's announcing that Senator Markwayne Mullin will step into that position. He just did so in a Truth Social post. But he is praising Kristi Noem on her way out and says that she will be moving to become the special envoy for the Shield of Americas. Chris?
Thank you for that. Let me go to Capitol Hill, where Kevin Fry is standing by. I want to play just a little bit of the grilling she got over the course of a couple of days. Take a listen.
The president approved ahead of time you spending $220 million running TV ads across the country in which you are featured prominently.
Yes, sir. We went through the legal processes, did it correctly,
did the president
worked
know
with
you were going to do
OMB.
this?
Yes.
He did. I'm not saying you're not telling the truth. It's just hard for me to believe, knowing the president, as I do, that you said, Mr. President, here's some ads I've cut, and I'm going to spend $220 million running them, that he would have agreed to that.
Kevin Fry, Senator Kennedy, a Republican, I should point out, was not the only one who raised that. But what can you tell us about the mood on Capitol Hill as it regarded Kristi Noem and how she performed over a couple of days of facing questions?
I mean, there was certainly frustration, and I mean, the most outspoken of them was Senator Tom Tillis. He has a litany of issues that he had with Secretary Noem, including, of course, her handling of FEMA, the distribution of funding for Hurricane Helene recovery in North Carolina. The list went on from there. And then, of course, there has been some discomfort, if you go behind the scenes, among some Republicans about how things have been playing out with ICE in Minneapolis and across the country, in no small part because we have seen the numbers ricochet against the president, against Republicans, on his handling of immigration, which is typically an issue that Republicans have pulled quite well on, and certainly the president has pulled. quite well on. And so there was kind of these murmurs of should she be in this position for as long as she should be, and is it time for a fresh face? Now, when it comes to Senator Markwayne Mullin, whose office I should say we're right out front of at the moment, just happened to be in the neighborhood, so we stopped by. He, of course, has been on the Hill for more than a decade. He served in the House of Representatives for about 10 years before switching over to the U.S. Senate, and in that capacity, he has kind of served as a bit of a liaison between the House and the Senate when it comes to just the Republican mood, when it comes to negotiations. And he has also been a very forthright defender repeatedly of the president in multiple capacities, including when it comes to the ongoing invasion and attack on Iran. And so this is, in many ways, kind of bringing an ally into the camp as the president makes this move.
All right, let's talk a little bit more, if we can, about Markwayne Mullin. His background, my understanding, at least according to Pew Research, he is the only member who does not have at least a bachelor's degree, although he did attend college on a wrestling scholarship, apparently. I think he's a rancher. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is there anything extensive in his background that would suggest that he might be different or be immune to some of the criticism we heard when Kristi Noem was put in place, which is that did she have the background to do the job that she was being brought in to do? Kevin, are you still there?
Oh, sorry, Chris. I didn't realize that was to me. Look, I mean, he has dabbled certainly in homeland security issues and measures over the years, and certainly has a much better understanding of how to interact with Capitol Hill than Noem did, though she did serve in Congress for a few years. The extent of his involvement when it comes to immigration, I myself have to go through and refresh on exactly what his background lies on that front. I apologize.
No worries at all. I can't imagine 435 members of Congress are not required to know exactly about all of them. And I think that this is coming for a lot of people, maybe out of nowhere. Michael Hardaway, former comms director for Hakeem Jeffries. Your thoughts about this and where a lot of Democrats got what they wanted in that Kristi Noem is gone. Whether or not they're going to be happy about Markwayne Mullin is another thing altogether.
She flew too close to the sun. For me, the tell was the Kennedy questioning in the hearing on Tuesday. The fact that he was so aggressive meant one of two things. Either he laid out that line of questioning and Trump saw that and became angry that she apparently lied about him signing off, or someone at the White House called him and said, you should be aggressive here to give us this reason to make this decision. I think either way, she's out. And, I don't know much about the senator coming in. I think in terms of his background, there's no military, no homeland, no real formal background in terms of what's required for this job. But I'm hopeful that he can at least instill some sort of leadership in that organization. I will say also the fact that they've got these $200 million in private planes that Noem purchased recently. That is not something that looks good to the American public. And so hopefully maybe, for instance, he can get rid of those and create change in that department.
Well, that was one of the other things that was pointed out. They show this plane that's tricked out with, couches and a bedroom. And then the story changed that it was going to be about deportations. It was suddenly going to be a deportation plane.
Right. Yeah, we don't buy that. I mean,
we've only got 30 seconds left, but let me ask you, how do you think the Democrats are going to approach this?
With an open ear. I think they are willing to, if they're willing to make the changes that I said are needed and beyond, I think Democrats are amenable to him taking that job if he's willing to make those changes.
All right. Our thanks to you. Our thanks to everyone who was involved in this breaking news. Kristi Noem out, Markwayne Mullin in at the Department of Homeland Security, and the creation of a new job that nobody is quite sure what it is because it's never been done before. But presumably we'll hear more from the White House about Western Hemisphere security.